The war in Ukraine is ongoing and has seen several developments. Recently, Ukraine has continued its counter-offensive near Bakhmut and claims to have breached Russia's first line of defenses in the Zaporizhzhia region. On Russian drone and missile strikes against Ukraine have continued, with at least 16 killed in a daytime attack on a street market in the eastern city of Kostiantynivka. Ukraine's counter-offensive effort in recent weeks has been an expanding bridgehead around the tiny village of Robotyne, some 56 kilometers 35 miles southeast of the city of Zaporizhzhia, with gains reported to the south of the village and to the west of nearby Verbovion. Ukrainian forces raised the country's flag over Robotyne last month and are now trying to widen the gap to allow larger infantry and armored units to pass through without coming under Russian fire. Own analysts suggest the second and third defensive lines may not be quite as robust as the first. Trent Mull, from the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, says there is a realistic possibility that Ukrainian forces will break through the entire Russian defense in southern Ukraine by the end of the year. Ukrainian forces have also continued operations around what is left of the city of Bakhmut, which has endured some of the heaviest fighting of the war and has been under Russian control for several months.
Ukraine has been making significant progress in its counter-offensive near Bakhmut. The Ukrainian forces have managed to breach Russia's first line of defenses in the Zaporizhzhia region. This achievement is a result of strategic planning and relentless efforts by the Ukrainian military. The gains made near Bakhmut have been among the most significant in Ukraine's counter-offensive. The liberation of settlements near Bakhmut has allowed the military to advance further. However, the conflict has also seen continued aggression from Russia. Russian drone and missile strikes against Ukraine have persisted, causing significant civilian casualties. In one instance, at least 16 people were killed in a daytime attack on a street market in the eastern city of Kostiantynivka. 456. These attacks have caused widespread damage and loss of life, highlighting the ongoing humanitarian crisis in the region. In recent weeks, Ukraine's counter-offensive effort has focused on expanding a bridgehead around the tiny village of Robotyne, which is located some 56 kilometers 35 miles southeast of the city of Zaporizhzhia. Gains have been reported to the south of the village and to the west of nearby Verbo 78,910. The strategic importance of Robotyne for Ukraine's southern counter-offensive cannot be overstated. Its capture has enraged the Russians further, leading to continued bombardment of the village. Please note that this information is subject to change as new developments occur.
Analysts have suggested that the second and third defensive lines in the ongoing war in Ukraine may not be as robust as the first. This implies that these lines might be easier for the Ukrainian forces to breach, potentially accelerating their progress in the conflict. Trent Mull, a representative from the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, has stated that there is a realistic possibility that Ukrainian forces will break through the entire Russian defense in southern Ukraine by the end of the year. 456. This statement indicates a positive outlook on Ukraine's counter-offensive efforts and their potential to regain control over occupied territories. In addition to these efforts, Ukrainian forces have continued operations around what remains of the city of Bakhmut. 7,891,011. Bakhmut has been under Russian control for several months and has endured some of the heaviest fighting of the war. The city is of strategic importance, and its liberation would represent a significant victory for Ukraine. Please note that this information is subject to change as new developments occur in this ongoing conflict.
The Republican and Democratic views on the war in Ukraine vary. Republican views. Some Republicans have called for Ukraine to hold elections despite the ongoing war, and there is a division within the party regarding the level of support for Ukraine. Some Republicans, including presidential candidates, favor continuing support for Ukraine. However, others, like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, have expressed skepticism about American involvement in the war. While a majority of Republicans, 56%, believe that America should be doing less for Ukraine to help in its conflict. With Russia 3 Democratic view, Democrats have generally been supportive of Ukraine and have called for continued aid. For some liberal Democrats have called on President Biden to shift his strategy on Ukraine, suggesting a more forceful attempt at ending the war through diplomacy. A majority of Democrats, 62%, favor more funding for Ukraine. Please note that these views can vary within each party and are subject to change as the situation evolves.